What's going on YouTube? I am Highway to Hill and this is my bike Yamaha R3. So today I'm going to clean my chain, adjust the slack and then lube it. So I'm going to show you how I do it. I would also love to know what is your technique, how you guys do it. Would love to know that as well. So what do you need? You need a paddock stand, you need obviously your cleaner and your lube. I'm using a WD-40 right now for cleaning, but I'll come to that later. And tools, some piece of cloth and your chain cleaning brush, or even an ordinary brush if you have, that will do to clean the chain. So let's get started. So first of all, I'm going to put the bike on the paddock stand. There you go. So this is a single piece paddock stand, which means the whole thing is one single piece, and the support it gives is swing arm support. So there are different types of paddock stand. There are 2-piece, 3-piece, which means you can detach it if you are pressed for space, and then you have swing arm support, and there is also spool support. So you will have spools over here, and then you can support your bike using those spool support. And there are paddock stands which are a combination of swing arm support as well as spool support. So I think this is a good investment. If you have a sports bike and if you want to work on your bike, you should definitely invest in a paddock stand. I think you can get these from 2000, 3000, 4000, up to $5,000. There are a lot of foreign and Indian brands as well that you can choose from. So that's about the paddock stand. Now today for cleaning I'm going to be using WD-40. I didn't get the Motul chain clean, which looks exactly like this, except it's known as C1 and it's known as the chain clean. So since it's a lockdown, none of the non-essential shops are open, so I couldn't get it. So I'm going to use WD-40, which is fine, because I usually don't use this, but today I don't have a choice. WD-40 is basically nothing but its main composition is kerosene, and if you have kerosene or if you have even diesel with you, you can clean your chain with it, but don't use it as a lube. This doesn't work as a lube. So for lubing, I still have some left over here, so I'm going to use this for lubing, and we'll use the WD-40 today for cleaning. So when should you clean your chain? Now my intervals are between 700 kilometers to 800 kilometers, and usually the main problem that I face is that my chain becomes dry. In Chennai the weather is pretty hot, and usually the problem that I have is that my chain becomes really dry. So it depends from region to region. If you are at a place where there's a lot of rain and there's a lot of dirt and keychad and all that sticking to your chain, then you may want to clean it maybe at shorter intervals. So keep inspecting your chain. If it is too dry, then you may want to lube it, because if it becomes dry, then there'll be a lot of friction between the chain and the sprocket, and that will lead to a lot of wear and tear, and also there'll be a lot of friction obviously. So, and again there'll be some power loss. So that's one thing. And if there is a lot of dirt and and dust that is sticking to your chain and the sprocket, so that is also not good for the chain and sprocket, because that will keep grinding, and the chain and sprocket will wear faster, and again there'll be loss of power. So under these two circumstances is when you want to clean your chain. So I do it at 700 to 800 kilometers, but yeah, you have to, I think, keep an eye and keep inspecting how your chain looks like. If it's getting rusted or something, then you might want to clean and then lube it. Now, one thing I want to say is, a lot of people, when they're spraying the cleaner or the lube, what they do is they switch on the bike and they put the bike in first gear, and they let the tire roll. Now, please, 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 I beg you, do not do this. It's an accident waiting to happen. You can get injured, and your bike can also get damaged. So whenever you are doing this, you're cleaning and lubing your chain and your bike is on the paddock stand, keep the bike switched off. Do not switch on the bike and don't put it in gear and then, you know, try to clean it. That's an accident just waiting to happen. So I have this chain cleaning brush, so I'm going to use this to so now you can see all the dust and the dirt, all that is washed away. Now I'm going to just clean this off using a cloth, because you don't want to put the lube on a wet chain. So once you've done the cleaning, let it just wipe it off using a cloth and let it dry. And once it dries, then we'll put the lube. Yeah, nice and shiny. So the chain is clean now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let it dry, and once as it dries, we will just adjust the slack. Now, what do you mean by slack? Now, when you keep riding, the chain will become loose. As you can see, this chain is touching the swing arm all the way to the top. That shouldn't happen. So it's become loose now, so we're going to adjust these nuts over here and adjust the slack of the chain. Now, to know how much slack is required, the measurement will be given in your owner's manual. So read your owner's manual. For the R3, I think if the slack is somewhere in the range of 30 to 50 mm or some 40 mm, something like that. How do you measure that? So this is the center of your rear sprocket, and probably here is your front sprocket. So take a midpoint somewhere over here. Now push the chain all the way up and then take a measurement and then push it all the way down and take the measurement. So if that is more than 50-60 mm, which means obviously, see, this is really loose, so we have to bring it down to somewhere between 30 to 40 mm. First thing first, I'm going to loosen the axle 22, no, 20 I guess. So I'm using a normal spanner and this ring spanner. This will do the job. I don't have a torque wrench, but I've done this multiple times, so I know how much to tighten this. If you're not sure, then probably you can get a torque wrench and just follow the torque settings. But I do this regularly, so I think I have a fair and fair idea. So the next thing you want to do is loosen only the second bolt. So I'm just going to loosen the second bolt, leave this one intact, the first one intact. Okay, do the same thing on this side. So I'm gonna move the first bolt and see what happens to the chain. See, the chain is tightening up, right? So I'm gonna move this step by step. So I'm gonna go this 1/4 and I'm gonna move this also 1/4. So let's check the slack. Okay, slightly better. I think I'll move another little bit more and less than a quarter, little bit more over here. Let's check the slack now. Okay, yeah, this is much better. Great. I'm not going to measure this, it just looks good to me, so I'm not going to use a scale and measure this. All right, so I'm going to close this nut and I'm going to close this nut as well. And what I like to do is I just measure this distance. So this is 1.4 or something, and then what I'll do is I'll measure this on the other side. It's also pretty much the same, 1.4 or something, so I know that it's balanced on both sides. There are markings over here, as you can see on the inside, but thing is these markings are a little deep, it's inside, and sometimes I can't see it properly, so that's why I use the scale to measure this. So now that's fine. I'm gonna tighten this up. Do the same here. All right. Finally, I'll tighten the axle nut. that's about it. Perfect. So the chain is dry now, as you can see. There's nothing on it, and now we're gonna just loop this up. So I'm keen to know what brands you use. I use Motul Chain Clean C1 and C2. There are a lot of other brands. I've heard a lot about Putolene, and also there is so these are spray type. There are also paste type of loops as well. So I'm really curious to know what is your technique, how do you maintain your chain, and what are the brands that you are using. So I would love to know that. Let me know in the comment section, guys. So that's about it. This is how I maintain my chain, clean, adjust the slack, and lube it. Hope you found this video useful, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Until then, stay safe. Ciao.